Well, my name is Jeff Smith. We are now at the Cottage, which is the home of the Spiral Collective Housing Cooperative Limited. Registered with the Financial Conduct Authority. It is a fully autonomous, basically an independent republic, which is how we like it. Yeah. We are our own landlord. So this is the home of the free people in many ways. The house itself was built in 1926 by a chap called Captain Bartlett. We call him the Colonel. We gave him a posthumous promotion for building us the cottage. But he was actually a naval captain, so he should be an admiral really. He went for interview at the docks for the role of docks manager of Falmouth Docks. And at the end of the interview they said, "So do you have any questions for us?" And he said, "Yes. If I accept the job, I require you to build me a house for myself and my family." And so they gave him the job and built him his house. We feel the Colonel made it up on the back of a fag packet. You walk around and everything's changed. For instance, where I'm sat now, this was all open plan. Now you can imagine the family coming from their bedrooms here in their living room, being served their breakfast here with no glass here. Very quickly, this was all glassed in shortly after 1926. What is cooperative living compared to other forms of living? Well, you've got buying houses. Not everyone can afford to buy a house, as we know. It's very difficult out there to get the funds. Renting, we all know what the pitfalls are there. Number one, private rented accommodation is getting harder and harder to find as the years go by. The costs go up every time. The uncertainty of your accommodation, you can move everything in and be given a no-fault eviction and kicked out 2 months later because the owner has changed their mind. You haven't done anything wrong. You can't do your own decorating. Many times you can't have a pet, many times you can't smoke. I always say to people, are you allowed to peel an orange? I mean, where do the restrictions end in rented accommodation? Whereas in a co-op, it is owned by the members who live there and no one else. When they're accepted into the housing co-op, they pay £1 to our secretary to move in and have their name written in, register of members' interests. When they leave, don't matter how many years they've been here, how much hard work they put in, you don't get your pound back. That stays with the co-op. In a real sense, the house owns itself, like a church might own itself, but they have different vicars and different congregations. We do not own the house we live in, apart from collectively we curate it, I guess is one way of doing it. We hand it over like a relay race to the next generation of residents. This should stand for at least another 100 years from now. It's just a matter of keeping up the people and the enthusiasm and the vision of what it is to live in a housing co-op. That's important to pass on to new residents. We have to keep it going in the sense of what it is, but also we have to explore new avenues and new paths, and new ideas that new residents may bring in. And that's why we have meetings, we have agenda points, and we make decisions collectively between us. I knew I could not do this alone. It was very hard to get the initial people to move in. Everyone thought a squat, you're going to get kicked out after 2-3 weeks. It could end horribly. I had to open the cottage. I had to do it myself to show to everyone around town. I'm in that building now, it's running. We're looking for 3 more people to join us. But we did, we had 5 of us initially, and once we'd opened it, people came visiting. I felt like an estate agent touring people around a big empty boarded up property. And like, well, you can have this bedroom or that bedroom. And once we found the people, we then got over the squat. The owners of the house came down, a big eviction team. We were fixing the roof the moment they turned up. They told us to come down. We had a chat. I said, look, if you kick us out, we're cleaning the house up, we're fixing your roof, you're going to get proper squatters, not ones who want to reclaim this house and make a beautiful community here. And so if you don't give us a tenancy, things will probably get worse for you. So give us a tenancy, we'll look after the house, and when you know what you're doing in the property, it's your house. They gave us a very cheap tenancy in exchange for doing the property up, and that's how it began in 2003. We do live as a family unit here. In fact, we had the fire brigade visited once, They said, right, well, this ain't good enough. You need fire safety doors here. You live in a communal house of multiple occupation, HMO. We said, we're not an HMO, we're a housing co-op. They said, well, it's an HMO. There's all you people living here. You need fire safety doors, all the horrible stuff you get in these big, I don't know, socially rented buildings. Luckily, we told them about a House of Lords ruling from 2014, which rules that housing cooperatives in the UK are exempt from HMO regulations because housing cooperatives are seen to live together as a single family unit. Oh, I really like that from the House of Lords. So we didn't have to have all the fire doors fitted because we are a family. You may have noticed in the hallway there, we have the gallery of faces of residents that live here. I think eventually that wall will be covered in faces all the way around. Well, it should be. Imagine in 100 years' time, there'll be no space on the walls other than faces everywhere. How we keep funding the house and so on, it's through the residents we have here. We have 6 people living in the house and 5 outside the house, 11 residents in total. The rent that everyone pays the mortgage and our bills, the electricity, the water, so on and so forth. It's still not quite enough unless our rents keep going up. So alternative forms of funding are, of course, our parties that we have here. We have generally 2 a year. They weren't profitable initially because we had to build our staging, our cabling, our lighting, everything had to be built, all our stage equipment. But now they are making a profit, each party. We all work for free and so does our community, running the bar. We pay the bands and so on, but we make a small profit and that helps with things. It gives us that extra money to make the house better each year. Oh, that's one of my favourite stories I tell people, having done archaeology down here. The moment I climbed into this house and walked around, it took me 2 weeks to break in, and I walked around the empty building and like, oh my word, I thought all the glass was broken, I thought there could be trees growing through the middle. I had no idea it was all boarded up, so it's only when I broke in I saw, oh, the glass is intact, it's dry, there are no trees growing through the middle. We had electricity, hot water was still here, we had a shower that was working downstairs. We had a cooker actually in the kitchen that was working. So this place is ready to go, it's livable. But yeah, on that day, I did archaeology. Now you remember Tutankhamun's tomb being open, all the gold treasures they found and the mask. They drilled a little hole, masses of archaeologists crowded in, they drilled a little hole through the last wall, and Lord Carnarvon looked through the hole with a torch, and everyone around him were like, what do you see, what do you see? And Lord Carnarvon said, I see wondrous things. That's what I felt when I walked around here. I see wondrous things. If only we squat it, if only we get from that to a tenancy, and who knows from there what the future holds. But these are now the wondrous things that I saw. Much more wondrous than I ever imagined. Yeah.